I have got a new mini campaign. It's like 6 episodes over, well, once every 2 weeks. A new game that it was introduced to me by some old pirate, and we were looking for a game that was relatively rules light. Now, my idea of a rules light game is a game that has about a page or maybe a few lines of rules. So I got into Tales from the Loop, and I was like, yeah, this is it's on the right side of rules light. It's nowhere close to being as crunchy as D&D or Mort Borg or anything like that. But I've got 3 weeks. It's because our first game is scheduled for 3 weeks time, which does make me excited. I thrive on deadlines and adrenaline and lack of sleep. So I'm going to be preparing this. I would have been doing this if there'd been something else going on tonight that I wasn't involved in. I would have been sitting there doing it. So it was like, well, yeah, let's do it. Let's go through and have a look at Tales from the Loop and see what it's about. I have already read the rules. I have watched things on TV, and I have looked at stuff and discussed it with people. But this is just an idea of going through and getting a few things sorted in my head, and hopefully as well it'll be interesting to people who don't know the game system, who can pick up a few things, and maybe it might be a game that you'll want to pick up yourself and run with your groups or tables or have a think about, or just to have the book on your shelf, because I'm not pointing at anybody in this chat at the moment, but some of us love buying TTRPG rulebooks.
Well, I think in a way we're all guilty of that. Great. I mean,
I agree.
I have got an email saying my Lord of the Rings one's due through the door any day now, so there's another one on my shelf as of the next couple of days. I need a new shelf. It's getting full.
Continuous link there being that's a free league game as well, as is Tales from the Loop.
I didn't even do that on purpose. I honestly, no, I didn't.
But I'm good. We just say you planned it. You planned it.
Now, but before we get into this, the one question I do want to ask, because I've heard of Tales from the Loop, and it's one of those games that the front cover sold me without any more information. Croy, would you recommend the Netflix season alongside playing? Because
see, that's a difficult one. That is a difficult one, because part of me says that if you don't know anything about it, then hopefully the amount of mystery and intrigue that you will get will be greater, because you just don't know what to expect, and you don't know quite how quirky and kind of off the wall. And I think that if you haven't already started to watch the series, or if you're not already in the process of it, then I wouldn't go to it now if you're going to be playing the game in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Just if you haven't done it by now, just enjoy
it.
I
get it. I totally get it. However, this series is really good.
Watch it afterwards, and that way you'll go up, and you'll go up. Your experience of Tales in the Loop will go up. That's great.
This is true. Yeah. Actually, though, depending on which one you approach first, are you going to ruin the other one?
what? Wait, what?
Yeah. Will you?
I see.
If you
yeah.
approach the game first, will it ruin the series for you? And if you approach the series, will it? You know what? I don't think it will.
The series is really good.
The series is very good.
The series is really good.
It's just so fucking sad.
Yes, that's why it's good.
Well, yeah, and it's not even Scandinavian.
Hey, Slammy, how's it going? Happy New Year, welcome in. Yeah, binge watched it. Yeah. So I mean, it is. But I also I recommended Katla to people because I saw it, and that's Icelandic, and I don't know. I'm drawn to that kind of bleak outlook.
Yeah.
I really like that. Like, to me, driving along on the motorway with the rain lashing down and the window wipers just going like that.
commonly known as
brilliant, you know?
Scottish summer.
Hey, don't knock it. We had last year's summer was in May, and this year's will be no different. So
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. But I get you.
So-
That whole Icelandic, Scandinavian kind of the way they approach TV. It's very slow burn, isn't it? But
It is, and so part of what I really like is that bleak outlook, and on that is why I decided to set this campaign. The IMT game is going to be set
in the
in a
bleakest
loop.
of places.
Would you say, Croy? Would you say, Croy, that as a Scotsman you appreciate the bleak midwinters?
Yeah.
Listen, I've driven across moors to get to a pub in the middle of nowhere in the Highlands, just to get to the pub in the middle of nowhere at 12 o'clock. Failed miserably because the weather was just so catastrophically bad that we were almost got stuck in Doon, and then almost got stuck in Glencoe, and you know, these kind of places. And it's just phenomenal. And I love walking in the rain. I just love walking with the right.
I mean, you do have the advantage of living in a very, very beautiful country.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, the United Kingdom.
So that is also interesting.
Oh dear.
Another part of this is to give the setting a little bit of a twist. It's set in the 80s, so you know, if you know the Masundry from 1986 will be reference material. And I'm going to make it an independent Scotland, and it's been independent for probably around about a decade or slightly more. And that's allowing it to have that closer link with Scandinavia due to the North Sea oil, gas. So there's going to be that side of the technology in this. So that gives me a little bit more ability to pull in that side of the pre-written stuff. But I am going to be translating it. It's a new loop. There's a new loop for this episode. It's going to be set in Scotland. So yeah.
Silly accents abound in this game. Then is that what you're telling me?
Not required.
Oh, okay.
My hometown in the south of Scotland was centred for a large part of the 70s, late 70s, around rayon, the material.
Oh yeah.
And it closed down and it went to Corby. So like a whole bunch of people. Yeah, a whole bunch of people.
I'm sorry, we stole
my town. Went back to Corby, but the thing is, a lot of people had come up from Corby in the first place to work there. So for some people, they were just repatriating. So it's the border town, and there's going to be that border element. So it is absolutely fine and right and proper to be from any part of the world and working at this place as well, because it has to pull in expertise from everywhere. So the loop itself is a highly scientific experiment. So there's going to be worldwide experts in the field present at that place. But there's also going to be people who are like the equivalent of factory line workers, where they just do that small chunk of the science on a day in, day out basis. And that kind of side of things is going to attract people from all over the world. So in terms of character creation, it almost doesn't matter where it's set, really, because there's perfectly legitimate reasons for absolutely anybody to be at this place. I'm looking forward to that side. So yeah, I know, Mark, you're going to be playing Infinity, not this time, but who knows?
No, but I do want to play. It is one of those games that's easily on my list of. I mean, mainly just because I see the image of the front cover and it's a kid wielding a shotgun, and it's like, yes.
It just reminds me of when I was a child.
True story. That's how I got into Game of Thrones. I saw a kid get pushed out the window, and I was like, sold! What happens? I need to know. It's like, yeah, that's how you get me. I'm probably on a list now.
Child murder. That's how you get Infinity.
Right, and here's another interesting thing about Tales from the Loop. The kids don't die. plot armor. Like
I don't want to play now. I don't want to play.
game armor.
Stream over.
Armor, they don't die.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for the subs, Keen.
Yeah,
And
cheers.
Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you, sirs.
Hype train is close. So yeah, basically at that point, the kids don't. They just don't die. But they can, and there is a rule about them losing their grip on reality. Is that fair to say? Is it a kind? It's a kind of they've developed flaws. Based on that, so it is possible to basically do a forest and eat cannibals and turn yourself into something other than a normally functioning human being.
Yeah, they get trouble. Something is that what they call it in this? Like conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trouble. Suffering conditions.
Yeah.
Yes.
So. Yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't bought Tales of the Loop, the aim of tonight is to kind of go through it very light-heartedly.
Yeah.
I would say.
I think so. Yeah.
So if you have any questions in chat, feel free to ask them. We will try and answer as many of them if they're related. If they're not related, we probably might answer them as well, because you know how we are with tangents on this stream. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of a session -1. It's not even a session 0 because we're not creating the characters for the game. We're just having a look at the game, evaluating some of the rules, and looking at the setting generally, some of the tech in there. So by the end of this stream, hopefully along with us, you'll all have a better idea as to what to expect when we start to play this game in 3 weeks' time. Which means that we are going to have a session 0. Whether that's streamed or not, I don't know. Probably not. Maybe if we can get everybody together, it could be recorded. So we're gonna run this. It's scheduled to start, I think, in 3 weeks. It may give or take, what happens in February. But my current calendar says it's 3 weeks from today that we're going to be playing this. So this is like an introduction, just to cover some of the stuff, particularly for those that don't know it and invite your interest. Yeah. So there's a link in chat of the game over on their website, which
Free League Publishing.
Thank you. Yeah. Free League Publishing, and it's all stemmed from the artwork of Simon Stalberg. Did I pronounce that? Stallenhag.
Stallenhag. Yeah.
Stallenhag. And yeah, I was looking at the website there, and then more recently the TV series kicked off that. But the books that have been created off the back of it have been quite loose, I think, in terms of the story. But the art has been the big kind of focus of it. And so the guys at Free League have created this TTRPG, which is actually, I'm just reading here, I didn't know this, but it's won no less than 5 gold Ennies, and it got Best Game and Product of the Year in 2017.
Yes.
So we're playing an award-winning game here on Infinite Monkey Tales. And how best to characterize it? It's a game about the adventures of children. And the kids are somewhere in the region of being teenagers.
Yeah,
broadly.
10 to 15.
Yeah, broadly. I mean, young, kind of, yeah. So we'll look at character creation and how the game actually handles character creation in just a minute. So the setting is it's 1980s. And it's 1980s more or less as we know it. The music that happened has still happened. Some of the political events that happened have still gone ahead. Some of the pressures on society, but there's an invention that's occurred. The harnessing of the magnetic fields of physics. And these magnetic fields have given rise to new types of transport, which have revolutionized all manner of industry and business. So there's a bit of sci-fi in there. So it's kind of twisted the 80s, and because we're set in the UK, then it'll be kind of recognizable on many parts, but just with these occasional flares. And so apart from these floating vehicles that are running the industry and logistics, there's also a huge amount of research that's been put into this use of a loop of kind of like Half-Life. If any, it just reminds me of that. They've done something. They've harnessed the power of the splitting the neutron or whatever it is that goes down in places like CERN, and they've basically used this particle accelerator to smash a hole in the fabric of society, of reality, which is then impinged entirely upon this society that is around it. So all these strange events that happen in the area of the game are attributed to the functioning of this very new science that nobody's really sure about, and yet consumes the entire area in terms of employment. Everybody works there. Everybody's got somebody in their family who works there, who does stuff. And it is run by a quasi commercial government organization, and they've got connections with other loops around the world. So this science that has happened has broken the fabric and has allowed some very peculiar things. So there's two. What drew me to this game was that there are prescribed adventures, which, you know, we run them as any DM, GM, keeper, referee, storyteller would. They run it to the best of their ability whilst dealing with the tangents that the players will inevitably take, and so the flexibility of that is there. But there's also an element to the game which is very much sandbox, co-creation, and experiment, which really appeals to me because it allows imagination to really flourish. So we're not going to spoil any of the pre-written adventures, but we are going to talk a little bit about what the game is in detail as the rulebook has it written. So yeah, we're gonna.
It's kind of coming across a bit of the Goonies meets Blade Runner by way of a Large Hadron Collider.
Yeah. So anybody who's worked in science will have familiarity with this. Anybody who's worked in a factory will have familiarity with this, and anybody who's ever hunted down a pirate ship in a cave on the coast will also entirely know what it's like to be a kid in this game. I don't know if we can cut to something where we can view some pictures, just to give a bit more.
Well, that's not the right button.
Oh yeah! Oh look, that's amazing.
No.
Pay no attention to this screen.
The bright lights, the blinders. We're gonna.
These are our
There
kids.
we go.
These are what the children look like in Tales from the Loop. They've all been mutated. Right,
Oh, there you go.
This is the PDF that we've got. I've got the Roll20 module, and we've got the copy. We've also got a physical copy of this game as well. So it's not my intention to show the entirety of the rulebook, because that would not be in the spirit of copyright. But the idea here is that first of all, the art style, and these towers are quite important. These are part of the central complex that is the loop, where the loop resides under the ground. This is where people can go, and there's a whole bunch of stuff about this coming out later on. But this is the sort of idea that you get this like if anybody's got a cement factory or a power station or just huge towers. Any sort of industrial landscape, then this you'll be used to seeing kind of similar types of sites. But these things are vast, and they dominate that. So the idea here is that there's all manner of machines, robots. I kind of don't want to have to give. We're going to have to give away some of the stuff because it's just the setting. This is how it is. This is what life is like in this world. There are robots, machines, and they're just a relatively normal part of existence. They're there. They're accepted. But then these cooling towers, which we've talked about, and then you can also hear the heartbeat. Which again is this noise that just continually rumbles underfoot, and nobody's quite sure what that's about. But yeah, so this is the art style that has really pushed this television series and this game into existence. And these characters here are typical kids of the 80s: puffer jackets, tracksuit tops, Dunlop sneakers. I'm just trying to really channel my inner 80s child, and just
Walkman.
coming back with.
Don't forget your Walkman.
Yeah, Walkman, and I think the Bangles "Walk Like an Egyptian" was probably about that time. So, for those of you who are currently going, "What's he talking about?" Yeah, I'm old, right? Deal with it. It's fine.
This was the 80s, people.
You may suffer if you didn't live through the 80s when you play the game, right? That's the only downside. Well, you won't get any of the references.
Oh, all right. I thought you meant that it was a terrible time that we all suffered.
Well, yeah, it's like every question is the war on?
The war.
Bum bags. Oh,
yeah.
Bum bags. Yeah, spandex. Exercise programs on television.
Yeah.
You say this was set in a Norwegian place?
Well, originally, there's two. The guide, what the guide gives you is a setting, the original setting, which is Sweden, and then it gives you an alternate setting, which is America. I'm going to take.
I think there is an expansion book as well, which kind of talks you through creating your own loop, which I probably should have told you about before. But I think you've mentioned it. They make one in Norfolk and in the UK as well. And I think they've just as a demo, as an example of creating your own.
Yeah. So there's precedence in doing this. And here's the guys. Is that a shotgun? Is it really? It's a fishing rod and a
No, she's got a shotgun. It looks like a shotgun.
I think that's a fishing rod.
Don't ruin my belief. Looking at it now, it does look more like a fishing rod.
It looks kind of dangerous.
Why would you be using a fishing rod as a weapon? It's the worst weapon
that you gave your kids to play with in the 80s. You know, some kind of.
That looks like an old-fashioned rifle with a bayonet on.
It does. Maybe
that's what I believe.
Kind of like a futuristic version of the old-fashioned rifle with a.
It was set in the 80s. It's how going to be futuristic?
It's a it's a swing ball. It's a swing ball stick with a knife tied on the end. That's
that's the kind of thing we did.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing we did. Yeah,
but they're not wearing the baggy trousers.
Never was.
Yeah.
If there, I guess, every possibility that they would be able to get their hands on shotguns. I'm not quite sure what the rules say about that, but there is every possibility that those things exist. So yeah, sure, why not? This is the original map, which I'm not going to spend too much time on, but this is the original map with this idea about the extent of the accelerator rings, and so the loop itself. You get just I'm going to zoom out a bit so you can see all of that. So this gives you the idea of the loop and what it is. The setting here is the Swedish map, so there's islands and ferries and such that are connecting, but the area that is ringed in red is all underground. So there's the accelerator auxiliary, the accelerator prime 1 and 2, and so there's tunnels all around this space, and this is where the effect is most keenly felt, and any of the aberrations that appear in reality then are focused around this area. So that's kind of sense. This is going to be. I'm going to lift this and apply it to the south of Scotland. So I need to figure out the scale, but There's only Edinburgh only sits about 50 odd miles away from the border with England. So it's going to be interesting to see. It might actually get into Northumbria and Cumbria, the lakes. I'm not sure. We'll see how big that is. So big anyway. And here's the credits with the game designers and stuff. What I'm interested in here, just having a quick look at the manual itself. So the book that we've got talks generally about dice and principles. So that might be, I think the first section might be worth a look, and then maybe just to jump straight into the character creation side. Does that seem fair? So we give a bit of setting according to the instructions, the manual, and then we maybe just have a look at the character creation, and that'll probably give us a fair bit. We've already managed to talk 40 minutes on this already, so yeah, it's going to be a good scene. So let's skip forward. We're going to page 8. There we go. Welcome to the loop. The landscape was full of machines and scrap metal connected to the facility in one way or another. Yeah, the colossal cooling tower's always there. And there's a little bit of a story here. It's just a little bit of backstory. So we're gonna skip that. Now, dice. We're going to be playing this on Roll20. There's apparently custom dice available for Tales of the Loop. Tales from the Loop, and it's sold separately at Free League and
they're not cheap.
Websites.
They're not cheap.
So some dice are never cheap.
Normal D6s are suitable.
What about using a D12?
Oh,
halving it.
No, the problem,
It's too spicy.
D12 dice pool. Yeah, they're using D6s on this one. It's a dice pool system where you roll a whole bunch of dice, a handful of dice, depending on the ratings of certain skills and attributes. And a 6 is a success. So if any of those dice come up 6, you succeed. If you roll more than 1 6, then you get better successes.
Oh yeah, by the looks of it, it looks like on their dice they don't have a 6, it's replaced with a weird symbol.
Yeah, a success symbol. A symbol of success.
It looks like a Stargate.
Yeah. So, with this in mind, it's the onus is on the player to describe what a success or what a failure looks like. That's my understanding. It perhaps differentiates itself from some of the other games where the GM is responsible for giving a huge amount of description on the actions. It's quite often that the players themselves would give a little bit of description about what happens. So the example that's given here, it's talked about you've succeeded. What do you do? What does it look like? What happens? And because it's got that relatively rules light element to it, it's up to the players to build the narrative alongside the GM, and that attracts me most of all to this in terms of storytelling, and I think being permissive as a GM to allow the players to express their characters and their side of things, that makes for quite an interesting dynamic. It gives people quite an idea to put themselves in that character's shoes. So I'm going to explore that with the players. I hope that's the case as we read through, and it'll either explain more about that. Oh, my camera's gone off.
Has it?
You still here for us?
Wait, yeah, we still see you.
Fine.
We see you.
There's no hiding.
So basically the idea there is the dice should be fairly non-invasive. We shouldn't have to stop play too much with the dice rolls. There are a few rolls that you can make, but I'm hoping that there are few enough of them that they're picked up very quickly, and that when we do make them, they happen quite quickly and naturally, and it's not like it doesn't have to slow down the storytelling element of where we're at. If we can get the flow of that going, then I'm quite excited to see how far we can take some of these stories and these kind of exciting episodes of IMT Tales from the Loop. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm not going to buy the dice. Anybody who's addicted to dice is now looking at the website and ordering.
And you've already got a set.
They are really expensive. They are really expensive.
When you say really expensive, how expensive are they?
Look, I seem to recall them that they're probably more than £15 for a set, if I recall. I'm kind of pulling that figure out of thin air, but I seem to recall them being more than 15 quid for a set.
£16. £16.
There you go. Because I know that Free League like to do this. They have the same system for pretty much all of their games with slight variation, but they keep throwing out these dice sets for their games that are
£12 on Amazon.
Is it? See,
£12 on Amazon.
Amazon.
There you go.
Get yourself.
They've only got one left in stock, so if you're watching now and you want them, go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So every edition of the game will hopefully IMT one shot be a self-contained mystery.
Ever since you say that, but I would say that ever since we've had a certain guest star TTRPG author, we've become very good at our one shots because he showed us how to do it, and we haven't
managed. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Mark, come on, we'll get you a one. We'll just have to do a 6-hour stream. We'll do a one shot, mate.
That's
all day stream.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
The basics are like Stranger Things, like Goonies, like Skate or Die. It's a bunch of kids that are all working together to solve this mystery, and they're all of the same age. They all know each other. They don't all have to be in the same class of school, but they're all from the same area, and they all have parents who are connected in some way to the loop. And the other thing about this, we were, I think, talking about it just a bit before we started the stream, is that Mark, you used the idea of latchkey kids, which I remember just being this, like, it was like a real stigma in the 80s about being a latchkey kid. Anybody that remembers that?
And probably most of us were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're kicked out of the house in the morning. Yeah. And you didn't come home until your mum came home from work or whatever, right? That's how it worked.
So that was it. We had this element of parents who were there but remarkably absent at the same time. I'm
not saying that our parents were bad parents.
Not saying that at all. No. But the idea here is that the parents generally are.
Yeah, they are absent. Yeah.
And so the parents are too busy operating in their world, doing parent things, working hard, solving problems, dealing with inter-relationship issues, just being adults and grown-ups all the time, and just going, what is it? That's fine. Go and play on the train tracks. That's fine. I'll see you. Just come back home for dinner.
Maybe our parents weren't bad.
So that's kind of the kind of setting that these kids are dealing with. They're dealing with this generally uninterested set of parents, and the parents can't be relied upon for help in these mysteries. The kids have to solve these mysteries themselves, and the trick here for the players is to role play in the 80s, which some of them might not even remember too well because they might have been quite young at the time. So that'll be it. And then for others who do remember it, it was such a long time ago that you know, who's to say if it was the 90s or the noughties? I mean, you know, it's all the same, really, isn't it? So there's going to be a bit of a challenge. I'd
like to say the music was better.
The music was definitely better.
And I think this game knows it as well. For reasons that we'll come to. Yeah, but later on when we have to choose our favourite song, it's very...
Yeah. So the mysteries will reveal the secrets of the loop to the players and also to you guys at home watching on Twitch and YouTube. You'll get to see some of the crazy aspects of the breakdown in the reality that you would expect to have. Like, it's not the Breakfast Club, or except it is, but the teacher's a robot, you know, that kind of thing. It's like just imagine you're looking through back at the 80s through a Black Mirror type episode, and you're getting it. So the kids are going to be doing something dangerous, and we mentioned this earlier. They cannot be killed, but all players will create a character, except for me, because am I called a GM? I am. I'm a GM in this game. Yeah, so I'll be the GM in this game. The instructions say you should pretend to be the kid with a capital K, like an actor in a movie or a play. And it's usually easier to play the kid. So we're going through the kind of introductory how do you role play, and we talked about that there. So that makes sense. And
it might be easier for some of us to pretend to be kids than others, maybe.
Yeah, but for those that are here because they're closer to it, they won't remember the 80s because they weren't there. So either way you're dealing with a disadvantage. Equal. Games Master is the NPCs as usual, and I'll be there just trying to make sure that the players don't get stuck on doors. That's my responsibility. I will be there to ensure that all doors are opened, and that they are, you know, keeping the story rolling, keeping the pace moving, and I'll be introducing, I guess, secrets and mysteries, sub-mysteries, as to help them solve the overarching story for that episode. I'll also be introducing the area and talking about what standard GM fare. There's nothing too exciting there. I just get to geek out on some 80s memorabilia to get my references right. I was talking to somebody about Pocket Simons the other day, and they just...
What?
I just got Simon. You don't remember the toy? See, this is what I get. The
I didn't know they did Pocket Simons.
Pocket Simons were the handheld ones of the big ones. Yeah, the big ones were the big ones.
I remember the big. Yeah, I didn't know they did.
But the Pocket Simons were small ones.
That is
for those of us that couldn't afford the big ones.
That's more like future tech, that isn't it?
Well, they were handheld. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So that kind of stuff is great because they get an excuse to look back over all that nostalgia and really just kind of geek out on that. So that's good fun. That's, in terms of setting, that's good fun. But there's going to be a trouble. We're going to be improvising. We're always going to be improvising. As much as the players can't stick to railroads, either can I. So I'll be looking at the as always, feeding back the players' ideas that they have as to where the story goes. So we'll be improvising a lot around the themes that go. And there's going to be intriguing mysteries. And the book says, I get to play robots and mad scientists. So, yes. There we go. It's going to be a fantastical world. Welcome to the inner dreams of Croy. And what
This is Croy's imagination as a young boy.
This is what it was like growing up on Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica and Knight Rider, all these kind of things. Yeah, dreaming of distant galaxies, and then all of a sudden it arrives, it appears, it exists right in front of us. So yeah, that's fun. It's as is always the case, cheering on the kids, making sure that they get to do what happens. Yeah, we're creating the story together. It's going to be a cooperative thing there. So it does say it's entirely possible to set your game in your hometown, where you live or where you grew up. In your game universe, maybe that's where the loop was built. Creating your own game setting requires more work, but can be a lot of fun. Yes it is. Yeah, so the home is full of strange and fantastic things. Fantastic. But there is a way of creating, and this is where it talks about, rather than having the prescribed mystery, you create the sandbox and it becomes a mystery landscape. They could talk about this mystery landscape, and it consists of just things that are weird or problematic that you put in front of the players, and they get to investigate that. And then you improvise what happens, which is cool. I like that. I like that very much. It's shades of Blades, it's shades of the way I run Dungeons and Dragons, and it's also possible to almost get to the point where we're just jamming off each other. So there's two methods can be used in Tales from the Loop. One is very much the didactic, kind of just reading the adventure, and the other one is this more jamming landscape, mystery landscape, and I really am drawn to that level of improvisation. So we'll be seeing a lot of that in the game as well. And I know the players that we have around the table are going to just totally go for that. We've got a fantastic crew around the table, so I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so it's your home. It's my hometown. It's my home area. Based on that. Okay. You were talking about dice, weren't you?
Yes.
And you said a 6 means success, and it only ever really needs one success.
Yeah.
So even if you have 5 dice to roll, you only need to get 1 6.
I got a feeling. Could be wrong, but I think if a task is really difficult, you might say you'll need 2 successes or something. I could be wrong, but I think that's
I think you're right. I think you're right about that. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we've got that element there. That's at that level. It's pretty much as simple as you really want it, isn't it? There's a bit more to it than that, but you could almost get away with playing it just with a whole bunch of dice getting chucked over the table. And again, playing it on Roll20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it talks about secrets. Okay, your town is full of strange and fantastic things. Everyday life is dull and unforgiving. The land of the loop is dangerous, but kids will not die. We talked about that. The game is played scene by scene, and the world is described collaboratively. So I think we've covered those kind of basic elements of the game. I think that's kind of all the bits, isn't it, that we really need to.
Yeah, I think if people were watching this, they'd have a rough idea as to what would be expected of them if they were to play this game, right?
Yeah.
I didn't chat. Ask us a question if we missed something and you would like us to answer it.
Yeah.
Except questions about dicks. We're not really interested in those.
Is that what? Anyway, let's crack on. No Laura Bailey here. So the world is. Now, one of the things that's interesting is that this idea about playing by scene. And this is quite an interesting one because I think this kind of somewhat reminds me of Fiasco, where we played with scenes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it says just like in the movies, the mystery's played in scenes. So the characters talk to each other, and then they skip to wherever's happening. You don't play out every. This is maybe about the pacing of the game. You don't play out every part of it. You take big cuts. So if you need to just go from they go to sleep to they're cycling along in the afternoon or out from school, that's fine. You know, to keep the pacing going and to get through the one shot, that is okay. So this idea of a scene has to have a start and an end. So it has to have a middle as well, right? And
it's Tales from the Loop. Maybe we missed that bit.
Yeah,
that's how it works. They don't do the middle.
So I would set the scene. I could set a scene, and then that might kick off a scene. But I think also the players will be able to set scenes as well, and that depends on what every player. So I'll try and balance that out as a GM. Part of my role is to make sure that people are getting a chance. It's not the same people, or nobody feels like they're missing out. Part of my role is to just try and stimulate that to get everybody into the story. But I think that's really exciting, not least because the amount of preparation that is required is somewhat less than having to create a very prescriptive railsy adventure. So that's a cool thing. And then we talked about that. So this is the whole bit. I'm going to skip this, but I might go to character creation. Let me just go back up to let me go back up and look to see where the character creation is. I should be doing this. There we go. So it talks. The manual also includes all about the setting, so you can use the given setting of America. But then the kids. Here we go. So that's what, page 49, right? Let's go there.
Yeah. So I think there's like an idea of choosing like an archetype, like a typical 80s kid that you might see in a movie or something like that. That seems to be an archetype that you select and build your character around. I think that's how this works, right?
Yeah, so look at this as part of the artwork. This is one of the drawings in the manual. It's just,
I mean,
like,
it is.
That is.
The artwork is incredible in this book.
Yes, it is. So, Dave, you're right. Yes, you need to listen to a lot of 80s music to prep. Tony, of course that's how you prep for games. It's all about the music and the atmosphere.
Yeah.
You listen to 80s music, you're in the 80s.
There you go.
Oh, if you get your old records out and put vinyl on and turn the handle, you'll get in 80s.
Hold on a minute. Just are you talking 1880s? Oh,
yeah, get your gramophone out.
Easy.
What?
So here's the rules of creating a character. We're not going to create characters today. We'll do this offline probably, or record it if by magic we can get everybody together. But we haven't planned on doing that, so it's just if it happens. But the character creation has 14 steps. You choose your type from the type that's listed below, and we'll have a look at them each in a minute, and then decide the age. So 10 to 15 years it is. So it's not technically, it's not just teenagers.
Ooh.
You have got some attributes to.
They're not 10-teen, 17.
10-teen. Spoken like an accountant.
The older you are, it's gone off screen. Hang on, let me just drop that back there. The older you are, the more points that you get to spend in the tributes, and then you got luck points. The older you are, the unluckier you are.
Less luck you have.
Yeah, it really does. So we've all been there.
15, if you're 15, you have no luck points. If you're 10, you have 5 luck points.
Yeah, 15 was pretty bad if I It wasn't great, was it? 15.
What was that? I'm trying to think.
That's when you found D&D, weren't it?
Actually, I might be a bit younger, but yeah, possibly. We'd been playing it about then. Was I working? I was skateboarding then, I think. I was a skater in that when I was
Skater boy.
Skater boy.
If you too had a horrible 15-year-old lifespan and you resorted to D&D, get in touch. Oh, you double dipped in activities then. You're on the cool and the nerdy.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, you're an indoor and outdoor kid, aren't you? Clearly.
Yeah, you can't be both.
I have to say that I stopped playing rugby and continued with skateboarding, basketball. So
hold on, you played rugby and call yourself a nerd? What?
I did just give you the idea of using a rugby ball as the dice and doing them like a wide version TTRPG. You got to kick the ball.
If you're from a part of the world where rugby is greater than religion, then you will completely understand why it was inescapable.
And Scott's born with a rugby ball.
South of Scotland, yeah, definitely. The rugby was invented in South of Scotland.
What? Bollocks, it was invented in rugby. Rugby just down the road from me. Of course it was.
I thought it was an Australian thing.
No.
It was invented in Melrose. First game.
Yeah, but you used to use like a sheepskin, didn't you, to begin with?
I think it was sevens rugby. To be fair, I think it was a particular type of rugby that was invented in Melrose.
I'm sorry, chap, but we're going to go right off topic now because this needs to be resolved. Did rugby start using me? It's invented in rugby just down the road from here. In rugby.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're playing in the home of rugby in the south of Scotland, so you've got to pick an iconic item, like a rugby ball, a skateboard, a Walkman, something like that, I guess. And then you've got to pick a problem, acne, potentially. Why?
Oh, is that serious? Is that? That is.
I don't know. It says
okay.
It says pick a problem. It was a problem for me as a teenager. I'm not quite sure if anybody else had that issue, but there you go. Pick a drive, and that's not the Sega Mega Drive. Before anybody gets excited, that's much more about your personality and about what goes on there. And then a pride, and we'll have a look at all this. Define your relationship with other kids. So again, you could be the older brother of somebody in the class. You could be a cousin, that kind of stuff. But it's all close-knit communities where the kids have grown up in the same area together, or they're incomers, and have been brought in to work in the loop. So there's certain things there. You've got an anchor, which could be like your, whatever. I guess your metallic dice that you got for Christmas, that kind of thing. And yeah, a name and a short description, and as Mark was saying earlier, choose your favourite song. It's actually part of the character creation.
I think he's choosing to ignore that, clearly.
Sorry?
Yeah. That's a Danish site. That's a Danish website. They're completely mistaken.
Oh, Danes. Those Danes.
They got it so wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then you've got a collective thing of describe in the hideout. Everybody had a hideout.
They did
when they were younger.
Yeah.
Usually treehouse.
Yeah.
Treehouse or a cave or a. In one case, it wasn't mine, but I remember some of the older kids. Bigger boys, Mr. Person.
They don't get that now.
A tree had fallen out of a side and had ripped its roots out, but they've removed the tree and left this giant hole in the sandstone bank. Oh. And some of the older kids had built like tarpaulins and stuff over it and put trees, and they had this big cave. But the council came and destroyed it because they were too worried about the whole thing collapsing on the kids. Which was typical.
No!
They don't like any fun, do they? They don't like fun.
No.
Yeah. They don't have fun.
They have the
in bushes. Yep.
Yeah, it tended to be in hedges, wasn't it? You'd find hollow out
hedges.
hedge, and you'd Yeah.
A rhododendron in the park or something.
We had a great one near us because we have a village that was abandoned ages ago near a river, so there's loads of underground buildings that the dirt's just built up on. Loads of them.
That's proper cool, that is. Are you sure you weren't born in the 80s, Andy?
No, but the village might have been. It's an old one.
Oh, I see what you did there.
And then I get to ask a whole bunch of questions, and you have to answer them. So it'll be questions about who's your favourite television presenter and why is it Bob Holness? That kind of thing.
Who?
Because that's the only one I remember from the 80s, right?
I've done a bit of research.
Carol Vorderman, she's been around a while.
So so here are the types, the archetypes, that are classes that are available. We've got bookworm.
Oh my God, Mark! It's your hair.
Well, what concerns me about that is that doesn't look like an 80s kid. That looks like a kid from some kind of Dickensian novel, doesn't it?
Up the chimney.
I mean, it is the bookworm.
Cool.
Bookworms have always looked old. Wait till we get to the jock.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then we'll have a picture of Croy playing rugby. That's what we'll have.
In England.
Okay. So you've got the bookworm with the typically iconic item, problem. Yeah.
Charlie's a smart kid. Belt and braces.
Double protection.
Yeah. Different types of pride. It gives the idea of there. So these are kind of good examples of what these are. So it gives you. I like this. This is helpful. I'll make these available. Computer geek.
Oh my God.
That looks like a Commodore 16, possibly.
That keyboard's cutting off his arm, no?
That definitely does look like a kid from the 80s. Well, maybe
he's got a pocket protector as well, so you know that's old. And if you know what a pocket protector is,
then
you're old, or you watch Saved by the Bell.
I got what is pocket protector?
Pocket protector. It was a little plastic wallet that you put in your pocket in case your pen leaked, so that it wouldn't ruin your clothes. It would sit in this little.
I've never heard of them. I've never heard of those.
They were either full plastic pockets, or they were really super absorbent sheets that would pick up all the ink and stop them from leaking out.
You learn something new every day, don't you?
Yeah, they stopped being a thing when everyone stopped using pens.
I'm gonna change this character slightly because hick isn't really a word that's used in rural areas. It's a very American word, and it doesn't accurately describe the type of people that live. But the essence of the character will still exist. There'll be I don't know, farmer's child or something, but hick. Yeah,
we don't have farmers' children in the UK.
Maybe they'll get sent off for scientific research.
Don't talk about that.
So the idea here, though, is that this would be somebody that lives very much out in the rural areas.
In the sticks.
In the sticks, yeah.
There you go. There's the.
There we go.
That's ice hockey.
There he is.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I bring you Croy from 19...
It would be rugby.
He looks like he could play rugby. He has hair.
He's a big fella.
He's a very big fella.
Yeah.
Also, he's not wearing ice skates, so maybe it's not hockey.
This will be rugby, lacrosse. No.
That's hockey,
lacrosse,
surely. Hockey, ice hockey.
No, what's
hockey?
Shinty. They don't play that in the south of Scotland. Shinty in Ireland and the north of Scotland.
Oh. Curling.
So, curling, yes.
Curling, that'll be
Bowling. Fools.
There we go. Cool kid.
You're right, that kid does not look popular. I mean, maybe in the 80s she'd have been popular, but these days she would not be popular with that get-up. Oh my god. That's anti-popular now.
But we know we know these kids, don't we? Everybody, we all grew up with them. All these types, they're all there.
Not all of us. Oh, it's Tony.
No.
We found me on over. But a cooler version.
I was going to. I mean, this looks like one of the cool kids, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, rockers were in the 80s, weren't they? Because they were listening to the illegal music back then.
The Panasonic tapes, mixtapes that were recorded off John Peel's Radio 1 sessions. Yes.
Yeah, or off the TV when Top of the Pops was on. That was the other trick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
When Eurovision was about singing.
Bad old days. Yeah.
There you go. And now we move on to the bad kid.
Ooh.
There you go. This Andy. This is Andy.
I mean, I never had a weapon like that. That's very Freddy Krueger to have something like that on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's more something you carry around now, right?
Yeah, but I do it to toe.
Yeah. I mean that look. It does.
I have to protest. The troublemaker is associated with skateboarding. I think I like the fact that it's a light as cigarettes, knife, skateboard. You know, I mean, yes, the skateboard can be used as a weapon. It's true, a blunt instrument. But just because you're a skater doesn't mean.
I'd like to know how the lighter and cigarettes would help in any situation.
Well,
I'd like to roleplay this.
If it's really stressful, if you're really stressed, you might want to spark up a cigarette.
Anchor, janitor at school. He's friends with the janitor in the school.
Well, because the janitor lets
typical 80s. Yeah, we're finding a lot about those janitors these days now.
Yeah.
It'd be like Vim Diesel, where his janitor ran a secret D&D game in his school. And that's
oh yeah, definitely a bad kid.
Yeah, well, they were, weren't they? Yeah. That was the typical story for a bad kid, is that they actually
worshipping the devil in the boiler room of the school.
Yeah, that was a big no-no in the 80s.
It was mainly in America, though. To be fair, I don't think the British didn't really give a shit, did they? That was a weird thing.
It probably didn't help having a picture of the devil on the front of the book.
Oh, Satanism? Yeah, all right, why not? Just be owned by.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Weirdo.
Why is she weird for having a teddy bear? I mean, the bird on her hat is definitely okay. That's probably fair. But like the teddy bear in the backpack, that's just a bit, you know.
Yeah.
It's Scoon apparently. Hi Scoon.
Everybody's saying this me.
Yeah, you know you're listening to a TCRPG stream.
Hang on.
When the weirdo comes up and everybody goes, yeah, that was me.
Where's the fat kid? Where's the fat kid? That should be a class.
Oh,
the one who eats all the food. The one that doesn't do anything and just sits at the dinner table all day.
Goonies again and
the
truffle shuffles.
Yeah, I want to roll for a truffle shuffle. I got 6 successes on the truffle shuffle.
Then we get into rolling, and we've got some basic stats, which, you know, aren't really going to be a surprise to anybody. It works for your actions. There's always one of them that will be applied to something that you want to do. They're generic enough that they cover every element. But then, I suppose, I'm looking at these and you know, you've got strength and athletics, you've got insight and wisdom, and you've got charisma and all these kind of, so just, you know, you can transfer them. I haven't played as many TTRPGs as many people here watching this and around the table, but it's never that different really, unless you can split it up more. and have more subsections of something. Like I was watching the Warhammer, and you can damage the left arm or the right leg or whatever, but that still goes down to some. So there's no real surprises here. Body, tech, heart, mind, and that's it. So you're always going to be rolling against one of these. So I guess if you want to try and
wow, your character's on a ticking time bomb. When you turn 16 years old, you are no longer a kid, and for the purpose of this game, time to make a new character. Yep. Bye.
Yep. Logan's Run, right here. You saw it first. So everybody starts with the thing about the age. We talked about that at the beginning, and then luck as well. So the older you are, then the worse your luck is. Is there anything? There is.
The only other extra bit that we got there is the skills underneath that.
Aye.
There are a limited list of skills, aren't they? That all kind of fit under those attributes: body, tech, art, and mind.
Yeah.
And you put points into those. And then if you wanted to roll on that skill, you would roll the number of dice that you've assigned to the skill plus the number of dice that are in the attribute that is connected to it, and then take your sixes out of that, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense.
So the rolls are done on Roll20, and we've got character sheets which should make this easier. I haven't confirmed this, but I think Roll20. I think part of the point of going down this route, apart from the fact that we're all playing over the internet, if I remember rightly, when you add a new character, if I add a new character here and look at the character sheet, then it's got attributes, body, tech, heart, and mind. You click on them. It asks you how many bonus die you want, or dice, and then it rolls, and it's got a nice wee picture that props up and gives you the bonuses as such, and you can re-roll it if there's reasons to. So that side of things is all handled on Roll20, so it should be pretty easy. You just need to find the right one in the list. Sneak, force, move, tinker, program, calculate, contact, charm, lead, investigate, comprehend, and empathize. And that's like it. The character sheet is 1 page, 2 columns, and so in terms of rules light, I think that that does kind of fit the bill. So the Roll20 module for this looks like it's working fine.
Yep.
I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, we just need to look into creating those characters. We'll be doing that. We'll start doing that over the next 21 days. I'll just put a call out into the IMT Discord for those of us that are playing, and I'll link you to the game, and I'll give you a blank character sheet, and you can go in and create the details, and then I'll assign that sheet just to you, so you've got access to that.
If you are interested and you are not in this game, don't worry. In our Discord we have a full channel dedicated to this game, where people can discuss. You can talk about the game, and if a second opportunity comes around for another rerun, or even if there's someone else in our Discord that is interested in playing it, they'll mention it there. So make sure you are in our Discord for any of these games that we run that you're interested in, because when the opportunity comes, they fill fairly quickly, to be honest.
For sure. This game filled even before we actually confirmed for sure that we were running it. There was just the level of interest was pretty high, which is great.
Which means there's always more chance now for a second one, especially if you guys like it. So
and there is a sequel to this game as well, which runs from the
Tales of the Square,
16... which is set in the 90s.
Oh, I'll be on that one because then I can relate.
Yeah. I mean, you know, kind of the same game, just with worse music.
Yeah, but better styling.
Oh.
Yeah. And that from a character creation, we talked about drive and pride and relationships and such. There's no real big surprises there. There's enough information for anybody who doesn't immediately have something in mind that they can look at just to get some hints and tips there, and that's fine. And we'll discuss all of this if in the off chance, if we are able to get everybody together. I'll put that out as an option. We could record the session. We might make the character creation available as a YouTube or video on Twitch or something. But if not, they will be doing it just individually as and when we can. And that's it, really. That's is there anything else like the anchor, I suppose? This is the support and care network that the kids have, and
mainly janitors.
Yeah. If there's things happening from conditions, then you can heal your conditions by spending a scene with your anchor. So again, we are really trying to create this sense of a TV show, I think, with the way that the scenes are working. They don't have to be chronological. They could be concurrent, and so you could split the party. They could be individual, where the scene just happens with one person and there. So this sense of creating these short scenes all collectively across the session really will make for a very interesting like a dynamic, because you'll be able to play ideas over in your head before you actually come to your scene, or if there's a combined scene with everybody, you might get ideas for a solo scene that you want to run afterwards, and it can just, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be really great to see our players just kind of run with this and grow more comfortable with this concept as we continue playing over the weeks. So it's a great system. It has a lot to offer from an RP perspective, and a great amount of stuff from just fun in terms of interactions with everybody. Conditions, experience. Oh, you get experience in this game, yes, and you use it to raise skills. You need 5 skill points to raise a skill by 1 level up to 5. So I give XP at the end of it, apparently. That's my job. I distribute XP. So unlike some other games, you don't get to decide if you get XP. I do. Yay! Excellent. So, yeah, bribes accepted, always.
Always good to bribe your GM.
I think that's it. I think that's really enough to say, unless you want to get into the suffering. Do you want to get into suffering? Is that something that we might want to talk a bit about? The suffering of children in Tales from the Loop?
I mean, I'm interested, but I think I've already gone down that line too close. I've had a lot of ideas myself and done many practicals. No, I haven't. Before anyone goes forward with that, thank you.
Too late. It's on the internet now.
Once on the internet, it's not like it's the 80s where no one even knew about the internet.
Trouble is something that prevents the kids from doing something, and it generally is a bad thing, obviously.
No, Dave, that's not coming back. Don't you dare clip it.
It's up to me to create those things, but it's also possible within a scene for the kids to set themselves their trouble. And I think that's interesting as well. So there's got to be a bit of a mixture here, and then I'll try and persuade people to pick. And the manual gives some examples of trouble, like a bully throws a bottle at you.
Wow, that's harsh.
Your mum refuses. Yeah, your mum refuses to let you go out.
Now she decides to be a parent.
Yeah, she don't mind you leaving yesterday with the shotgun, but today...
you go to pee and you forget your shorts. that kind of stuff.
God, see, there's a different outcome from the 80s and 90s version.
And then you try and describe how you overcome that trouble, and then
you steal someone else's shots.
No, you generally had to choose some out of lost property, didn't you?
Or did it in your boxes.
Did it in your, didn't you, Y-fronts, kegs.
In your kegs, yeah.
And then you get the dice, and you roll them, and every 6 rolled is a success. So that's kind of cool. And you can use props, your items and pride stuff, so that works into it as well.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and that can help.
The pride thing, is there anything about the pride thing? What that?
Yeah.
Because
so it does.
I'm putting you on the spot there, aren't I? But
just a bit.
Yeah. So what it's saying is that you can use the iconic item for as appropriate, and it gives you 2 extra dice to roll. And you can also use your pride, but only once per mystery, it says.
Okay.
So, and it gives you automatic success. But you can only use it once, and it gives you that automatic success. So you want to use it, because not doing so would be a waste.
But use it at the most appropriate time.
Yeah, and don't regret not using it later. So you could have a situation where you have to overcome a trouble using your pride, and then you're in a group scene later on, and then everybody else uses their pride to overcome that group scene, but you don't. And you're the one that falls back down the rope when you've tried to use it to climb up the side of the hill or whatever. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And you can and this is interesting, you can activate pride after a failed roll. So even if you wanted to, that's good, isn't it?
So you fail your roll, and you use your pride. It means you actually passed it, and automatic. You don't have to roll again. Okay.
And then it also says if you need an extra success for any reason, you can also use the pride to add an extra success. So if you rolled 1 6, needed 2, you roll.
You just use that.
Yeah.
Use your pride.
So it gives you it gives you 1 automatic success. That's quite specific. It doesn't give you an automatic success on the roll. It gives you 1 automatic success. So that's quite interesting. That's a yeah.
Okay.
Typical trouble with threat of a condition. Oh yeah, that sounds good. Luck as well allows you to re-roll failed dice. And it says without needing to push, so there's also a pushing element here as well that you can use, which we've seen in other games as well.
Yeah, I think in the Free League games you can push any roll, can't you? But I think it will give you a condition or something like that. If you use it, if you push the roll, you automatically get some kind of condition, I think.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm right with it.
Yeah. And then also what's interesting as a note in this game is that there's no turns or initiative.
Yay!
I really like that.
Although it could cause arguments.
No. Sure, it'll.
Yeah, it's decided by dialogue. Really, it's what's reasonable between
what seems
us.
most appropriate to people who to go first. I mean, so I guess you could play it tactically, maybe.
I hit him with the pipe. I hit him again. And again.
Well, but it's also
I hit him until he's dead.
It's also up.
I don't give him a chance.
The GM gets to decide what's plausible in that case as well. So that kind of gives me a little bit of arbitration as to those kind of situations. Yeah. Yeah. This is interesting. Some skills let you ask a question of the Game Master. The Game Master must answer them truthfully and with as much detail as seems possible in the situation.
I think they have to be in-game questions. What is your bank PIN number?
Look into my eyes. So, yeah, it's just kind of cool. And you can buy effects as well, apparently. Which I'll need to... That sounds different. Need to buy an effect. Player 1, I roll force to wrestle my brother to the ground. 3 6s. Can I buy effects? Games Master says, of course. player 2 says I can buy 2 effects. Let's see. He's humiliated, and I don't have to roll again for the same trouble. Ah, right, okay. Oh, wow, right. So it can get quite complex, yeah. And then you have to describe your wrestling. I used to actually, at my birthday, my mother regaled one of her favourite stories about my brother and I fighting, wrestling on the bed, to the extent that we actually collapsed the feet on the bed, so it was at an angle like this. And it got fixed, and then we did it again, and it collapsed, and it got fixed, and it collapsed. And eventually, my parents got so annoyed about having to fix this, they ended up taking the other legs off and just let the bed on the floor, and that was it. So
problem solved. There you go.
Problem solved. Yep. From an
sleep on a mattress.
Yeah, adult's perspective. So any leftover successes can become beneficial effects that you have. So it is, again, putting the players back into thinking about these situations and coming up with interesting ideas about what has happened. And it isn't just a case of I do this, I roll this, and the GM then spiels off a bunch of stuff. It's really putting the players on the spot and testing their chops in terms of improvisation, and it will get easier as we do it more.
Yeah.
So
like any game, it just takes a while.
Yeah. We'll get into it. And yeah, complications. It's not railroading. It's not a roadblock. There's always ways around things. We want the mystery to progress. We don't want to get into a situation, but we'd also want it to be we want complications after a failed result. We want there to be. That wasn't me.
No, I'm terribly sorry, chat. That was. that was Andy in the background. Yeah, she apologises profusely.
That's the second sneezing clip now.
Well done, Ange. Yeah. I'm proud of you.
We'll have to play them one after another now. Oh, Brill.
No, I wasn't sure if anybody heard it, but then I saw Andy's face. Gave it away.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, yeah, complications, failed rolls. If you roll not enough or none at all, then it's a failure, and then stuff happens. And it's up to me to decide the consequences, guys.
Oh.
And anybody who's played games with me before knows that
you're an incredibly generous and gentle, benevolent
GM that
GM
just
definitely
loves everyone and doesn't at all have decades.
That's actually true as well. That's the thing. It is actually true.
It depends what game we're playing. I like the story to progress, but I am perfectly aware that for every story to be a story of interest, there has to be some form of conflict or complication. So it's great. It's great. So yeah, pushing a roll. Here we go. When you fail a roll, you may choose to immediately retry the task by basically pushing yourself to the limits. And if you do so, then you must first check a condition. Choose any condition that you feel fits the story. Then you re-roll all the dice except those showing sixes. If the re-roll is successful, the game's master describes what happens. If the re-roll also fails, you may not push again, but you can use a luck point or your pride. If the trouble came with a threat of a condition, you may need to have to check 2 conditions. So yes, that's brilliant. So you've got there's even a percentage. So the pushing a roll adds a certain amount of percentage. It looks like, and you can help each other as well in this game too. That's cool. So you can do that. You can only get help from one of the players at any one time, and I can say if it is or isn't possible, and you're bound by that outcome. So if the two of you are climbing over a fence and you're helping each other getting over that fence and you succeed, you're both going over the fence. It isn't that one of you gets to stay behind and keep a watch, it's that you're both over the fence. Yeah,
that's carrying.
Now this emulates, how people used to help each other in the 80s.
No, they didn't. I've seen the documentaries.
It also means
on the History Channel.
Yeah, cool. Right, and then you've got KVK, which is kids versus kids. So when you do fight each other,
Hunger Games.
But can't quite kill each other with bows. But you can push the rolls, and it's basically the one with the most successes wins. So that seems fairly straightforward. Another thing about extended trouble. Trouble can be so climactic that the kids have to come up with a plan and work together. We will not be spending planning paralysis episodes. That's not happening. But yes, we will definitely be doing some of that. Sounds cool. You'll have to play the individual part of that plan. So you're in a shopping centre and one of you uses the lookout, one of you activates the lift, the other one sets off the fire alarm, etc., etc. And you're all using your Natty Casio digital watches to do so.
Yep. And someone throws a pipe bomb right at your friends and it all goes to... Oh, sorry. That was another game we played.
Yeah. So there you go. And then we go into the scenes. Each kid gets a scene to act out and roll for their chosen skill. What I'm not clear about is if everybody's in a plan and time happens concurrently. This is one of the things that we experimented with in D&D, was trying to get everybody to take their turn concurrently, but it's really difficult to do. And there's a real temptation to be able to say, well, after they've done that, then this happens. But we can't do that in this game, because if there is a plan, everybody's going to be happening concurrently within that plan, unless you plan in a section where I wait until such and such happens and then I do that. Yeah. But in some cases there's going to be actions, so we're going to have to get used to sort of thinking like that person's doing that and while I'm doing that, but then the person rolled badly so it doesn't happen. So on the fly the player's going to have to think about what would change about their plan, knowing that while they were enacting it something happened that was... That's
how Vampire the Masquerade combat works as well, because that's all about in your turn you plan what you're going to do on your next, on when it gets back to you, and then if someone else fails it, when it gets back to you, you get a chance to recover and divert. So if you were attacking somebody, and then by your next turn, when you come to attack them and they're dead, you're like, I switch my attack to the guy over there, sort of thing, but half the time there's no one there. But yeah, I like that mechanic. It seems more realistic, but it's really... it's more complicated than needed.
It is quite complicated. Yeah, it's quite complicated. But it does stop this concept of people sitting around waiting for...
It probably helps not having that initiative. I guess.
Yeah.
That's true. Yep. Because then you don't have...
Because the players are deciding what order they're going in, it's more than likely going to play out that they do something. He does that, I'm going to do this. And you get, as opposed to rolling a dice and having to worry about whether this person died before you got to. So I guess it evens out.
And if plans are made like that they're kind of a domino effect, then that can be cool. It isn't enough for you to say you use a skill. You need to say what you do in order to get to roll. And we've done this in Blades. We've pushed for this in D&D. We do it in Cthulhu. And this is... I like this because it stops people just saying, I use... Well, I mean, I don't know the skills offhand, but, I use tech.
Yeah, it's like that...
What do you do?
Narrative kind of thing, isn't it? Where you describe what you're doing without looking at your sheet.
Yeah.
And then look at your sheet to figure out how you did it, maybe.
Yep. So I think that's great, and it's going to really force people's imaginations, and I'd like to think it draws people into a degree of presence, because you're actually having to see through your character's eyes almost at times when the pressure's high from a second to second perspective. So you're actually trying to imagine the events playing out.
Yeah.
And that's for anybody who hasn't role played like that or with those kind of thoughts in mind. That can be quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
But it just depends, and everybody thinks in different ways. But the outcome is there. You don't just get to say, "I'm using a skill," and then rolling it. It's a success. That's not going to wash with me as a GM, and the rules absolutely don't want that to happen either. So that's cool, and it will get easier. It will absolutely get easier for anybody who's playing, going, "Oh, wait a minute, I don't know what I signed up to here." Then it will get easier. You'll see other people doing it, and you'll get an idea, and you'll put yourself into the head of that character. So I'd like to think this will be some pretty decent role playing, especially with the people we've got around the table. So awesome. And that's it. Then there's a bit of whole description about the different skills that come in. There's a whole bunch of description about what they are and about what they do. You sneak, force, move. We've talked about these before. There is some sort of avoiding attacks things, and it looks like you can just basically say however you want to, most realistically avoid that type of attack. So if somebody tries to punch you in the face, then you could use move. But if somebody tells you to stay home at night, you could try and use charm to get let out later.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, or, just 80 style, open the window.
Yeah, we'll be able to make sure that we understand all these once we play them a bit more and once we read through the rules. But they're not really complicated. Those maybe about 20 pages of stuff. A lot of it is just descriptive and examples that they put in. So I dare say by the time you actually condense these rules down to something that's just a cheat sheet, it wouldn't be much more than about 3-4 pages maybe. I mean, so it is relatively rules light. There are rules there, but it's relatively rules light. And that's kind of it. We've looked at the setting, and we've looked at what's going to happen. We've looked at the game and type of game that it is, and we've talked a bit about character creation. I don't know if there's any more that we need to look at. We've got the skills have been discussed. I think that's hopefully that's giving people.
I think that's enough to give you a taster. Yeah, if that's interested you and that's something that you're interested on, then we suggest you go and look into it. Like I said, get in our Discord, talk about it, or just go and get the book yourself. That's always usually the easier thing to do. Or, like I said, we may end up streaming that or putting it on our YouTube. So again, get in our Discord and you'll find out if that's going to be a thing. But yeah, I think that was a good overview. I'm interested even more now.
Yeah, kid, a little sweetener, isn't it?